Hello, this is Zinday from the Golden Land, located at angelfire.com/game/link40. Today, I am here to talk to you about games in general, really. Basically, obviously I usually do videos about Zelda and things like that, but today I'm actually here to talk to you about how I feel personally about really today's generation in gaming and how developers and publishers really have kind of used today's technology, I guess you could say, to their advantage. What I mean by that is, I really, first thing I want to get off my chest that I absolutely cannot stand is if you buy a PS3 game, if you buy a 360 game, 9 times out of 10, you put the game disc into your system, and what do you have to wait through? An update. And if you don't have these systems, basically what happens is the game gets rushed out of the doors real quick, and they ran out of development time. They get the game out on the market, you buy it, and by the time you buy it and it's in your hands, they have already found a bug that they missed originally when they were developing the game. So what do? They send an update through a patch or through an update that you can get, that when you put the game disc into your system and you try to load into the game, it immediately says there's an update for this, making you wait some amount of time to be able to actually play the game that you have been waiting for to come out for quite some time. Absolutely annoying. Seriously, people? What happened to the good old days when you could just buy a game, throw it into your system, nothing was wrong with it? And if there was something wrong with it, it was something you had to deal with. It wasn't something that was going to be a game breaker. For an example, how many times did you buy GameCube games, PS2 games? There weren't updates back then. There wasn't. I mean, I say back then like it happened, 50 years ago. I mean, it was just 10 years ago, if even. But there were no updates. You got the game, and that was it. The games were developed with quality, and they came out being amazing. Not too many times and not too often do you get a game now these days that is absolutely perfect in every way, to the point where there are no bugs at all, except for, and I don't want to sound like a Nintendo fanboy, but except for maybe Wii games, mostly because Nintendo they have updates, but not nearly as what PS3 or 360 has. And quite honestly, that's just annoying to me. Another thing I kind of want to talk about this generation of gaming is the magic, I guess, in the games. Now, don't get me wrong. I love games. I collect games. I have games from today's generation. But something to me seems to be missing out of this generation of gaming than the last generation of gaming, or even the generation of the N64 and the PS1, or, goes far back as Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo. And I honestly can't put my finger on it. Basically, I feel that the magic is not there. Now, don't get me wrong, like I said, there are good games that are out. Galaxy 1 and 2, fantastic. If you have a PS3 and you haven't played Heavy Rain yet, that game is amazing. But I mean, like today, let's take Zelda for a perfect example. I'm actually more excited for Ocarina of Time, the remake on the 3DS, than I am for Skyward Sword. And I don't know why. And I think it's because I know Ocarina of Time was a fantastic game, but it's just that Ocarina of Time had that magic. Nintendo put the quality into that game. A Link to the Past had the magic. And it's so many people these days just rely on good graphics. And games are so much shorter now, and I just hate spending $50, $60 on a brand new game that I know I'm going to be done with in 8 hours. Or done with even in 10 or even maybe 15 hours. I mean, what happened to those good quality games that you played that lasted forever? They were so much fun to play. Another thing that kind of bothers me with the Zelda franchise is, exploring the overworld, and we went through that already with one of my older videos called Exploring the Overworld. I think it's actually the first video I made. But like Piece of Hearts too, nowadays, they're just, you have to go through a side quest to get them, or you have to go through some ridiculous thing to get them. Back in the day on the N64, the N64, or in A Link to the Past, they were just laying there. Some of them were side quests, yes, but some of them were just laying there. You had to buy a tree and a grotto appeared, and you went into the grotto and got it. Or in A Link to the Past, it was just up on Spectacle Rock. They were gems to get, and they were cool to get, but they weren't impossible to get. Now, I'm not saying that particular one reason is the reason why the Zelda games aren't as magical as they used to be. It's just to me that the Zelda games were taking a wrong turn. And I hate to keep using it, but it's a perfect example. When you play through A Link to the Past, it's fun to play through. When you play through Ocarina of Time, it's a great time. But as the games progress, Eiji Aonuma wants to make a Zelda game that everybody's going to be, he wants to beat Ocarina of Time. But I don't think he's ever going to be able to until he is able to recapture the magic that Zelda used to be. with Skyward Sword coming out, I don't think Skyward Sword's gonna do it. The more and more screenshots I see, and the more and more playthrough of that game that I see, the less interested I get. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a Zelda game, and above and beyond, I am more interested in Skyward Sword than I am any other game out there. But it's still, I just don't want to have to adapt to new controls. I don't want to have to adapt to motion control that Nintendo's trying to push so hard out the door. And I don't know, it's just something about today's gaming. I have a hard time just buying new games because I just know I'm going to be gypped out in some way. It's either going to be short or it's not going to be as good as I expected it to be. And with developers and stuff these days, it just seems that the quality of game has gone down because they're so worried about graphics and they're so worried about gameplay being just spot on that you lose the quality that we used to get in the game. Back in the day, when I would buy a Nintendo game or a Super Nintendo game, I couldn't buy that many because I was younger and, I didn't have a job, so I had to rely on my parents to buy me a game and stuff. And it was amazing when I got to open that box and I got to experience this new game. And I plugged that into my system and I'm like, this is a blast. And that one game lasted me a half a year because I was younger. I couldn't go through it that often. I had school to worry about. And not to mention, when you were younger, let's face it, you don't play video games 24/7. And it's just nowadays, it's just, the game's over in 8 hours. I buy a game, the next day I happen to have off, I play through the whole game in one sitting, I'm like, that's it? That's all I got out of this? I just spent $50 in this game, $60 in this game, and that's all I have? I don't know, I could just be making this up, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, however you guys feel, definitely shoot me some comments, but to me, with this generation, it's just something there's just something not there, there's just something missing. And I really honestly think that developers, publishers, Nintendo especially, really need to think about their original roots and where they came from and the stuff that made their games good. Play through Link to the Past again. Go through that game and just see the perfection that game is. Ocarina of Time, same thing. Just go through it again and actually think about it and look around and the time and effort they made into every individual character and all the stuff that you can find in that game. It's just spectacular. And then go to Twilight Princess, and it's just like, it's just not there. There's just, they think of this new wolf idea, and why do they think that's good? Why do they think Link turning into a wolf is a great idea? I don't. I thought it was crappy. I hated it, actually. I hated the wolf parts of Twilight Princess so much. If they want to make a good Zelda game, they really have to think back to their roots. And it's not just Nintendo. If Sony wants to make a good RPG, they need to think about what they're gonna do here. And Square, for a perfect example, Final Fantasy 13 wasn't really that great. It took you 30 hours to be able to get to the good parts of the game. 30 hours! Now, yes, I'm kind of going across what I'm saying or against what I'm saying because I always said I wanted a longer game. But quite frankly, I do not also want to spend 30 hours playing a game before it gets good. Really? Seriously? Kudos that it's a long game, but really, 30 hours before it gets good? I don't know. Final Fantasy VII had me hooked on, the first hour or two. So I don't know. Like I said, shoot me an email, shoot me some comments. I want to know what you guys think about today's generation of gaming, the PS3, the 360, and the Wii. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you liked yesterday's generation of gaming more, because I personally do so far. There's nothing, games do impress me now, but it's still overall, there's nothing like that original feeling than going through Mario 1, or going through, A Link to the Past. There's just something there, and I really quite think that developers and publishers really need to find this again. So, like I said, give me some comments, shoot me some emails, and let me know what you think, because I'd definitely like to know. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.